Hey y'all, new day, new verse. We continue on in Isaiah. Today we're going to be picking up with chapter 59, the end of verse 15, and right into the beginning of the verse 19. It's really great to be back. I'm glad we're able to. And there's so much fun to pick up here. I just thought we'd toss out there after we enjoy the prayer together and have some fun. So, Father God, thank you for your words, your wisdom. Thank you for your strength. Thank you that you are with us. Thank you that you never leave us nor forsake us. Thank you that in our weakness you are made strong. And thank you that as we surrender to you, we find the strength we're needed. As we seek first your kingdom, we find all of it added. And as we rest in your hands, we know, though it may be a terrible thing to fall into them, when we come in spirit and truth, though you may strip everything away from us that is not us, it is the purest way we can be before you. Lord, let us see your face. Let us know your voice. Let us go as you would lead. That your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in the heavens. Lord, lead the way. We worship you and praise you. Thank you for your sacrifice, Jesus, that we might be able to come and dwell within, to know and be known. Holy Spirit, come fill us, lead the way, that we might not stumble, but walk straight and true over even terrain. Lord, lead the way. We worship you and praise you. Amen. End of 59, end of 15, the beginning of 19. The Lord looked and was displeased to find there was no justice. He was amazed to see that no one intervened to help the oppressed. So he himself stepped in to save them with his strong arm, and his justice sustained him. He put on righteousness as his body armor, and placed the helmet of salvation on his head. He clothed himself with a robe of vengeance, and wrapped himself in a cloak of divine passion. He will repay his enemies for their evil deeds. His fury will fall on his foes. He will pay them back even to the ends of the earth. In the west, people will respect the name of Yahweh. In the east, they will glorify him. I want to pause it there because we're going to spend a little bit of time with 19, or all of 19 tomorrow, because, as God leads, of course. But just a couple things that stuck out to me. No but there, just more transitional thought. Anyway, moving to the verses focusing on today. Sorry, a little bit of pain. There are a couple things that stuck out to me. One, it was this shift in language, in that the past tense into the presence of he stepped into the act of saving them. And then you get down through not only the he clothed, past tense, wrapped, clothed, the future tense of he will repay. And so I see this not just having done, but will do, is doing and will do, beauty of God constantly and actively at work. And it really invites me to see a lot of the beauty of, like, every nation is eventually Babylon, but not every nation has to be. Like, if the nation truly submits to it, as we want to see the land healed and all of these wonderful things happen, well, we gotta live a certain way. And it's not a way of beating each other to death, it's a way of dying in their place. Just as he died in ours. It's self-sacrificial, other-centered love. That's the nature of agape. And I will admit, I know it's easy to say, it is straight up impossible to do without him. And that's kind of the point. It was designed to be impossible to do without him. It's why the God-shaped hole in the heart. It's not to try and make, oh, yes, so you have to meet me. It's more so you understand, oh, it's not about us. That's why the great, beautiful, oh, it's not about you that pops up in so many different. I mean, Doctor Strange, the grand reveal that made him the Grand Sorcerer Supreme. It's not about you. Constantly through pulp culture, through every kind of medium you can think of, the idea stands. It's not about us. Well, why? It's got to be about something deeper then. And I look at it, it's like less about the individual. And that doesn't mean it's like, oh, then we don't matter. No, we intimately matter. That's God was thinking of us individually. It's not one for sake of the other. It's both and. The individual matters and the group matters. Because the group is made up of the individuals. It's the individual understands what Spock said so beautifully, the needs of the many or for the needs of the few or the one our issue with, and I've seen this time and time again, is that the many tend to tell the few or the one that they're to be sacrificed, missing entirely that it's not, oh, we choose who gets sacrificed. It's no. That person chooses it. That person says, no, I will land on this grenade. I will walk into the fire because they can't. I will serve my nation because I'm called to and others might not be. I will defend. I will rescue. I will go and find. I will meet. I will invite. With baking and like every kind of calling. That's the beauty of the muchness. Talent got redefined in our language because of the word. And I really love that. And that kind of mentality only comes from living, well, there's a reason that Paul talked about the armor. In Ephesians, right? Helmet of salvation, breastplate of righteousness, belt of truth, feet of salvation, sword of the Spirit, shield of faith, right? Might be missing one. But here, it's slightly different. And I think it's interesting that there's one thing here that Paul leaves out. That's he roped himself in a cloak of divine passion. And I'll admit, every time pretty much since the first time I heard this, I don't know how long ago, it was around the same time I heard the line from Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he says, pawn your cloaks and buy a sword, right? And so I'm like, okay, so pawn your cloak, buy a sword, and next line, hey, I've got a sword, put the pig sticker away. That's not what I mean. And he almost gets rushed into it, like it was not necessarily a rushed teaching, but more of a think on this and a dwell on this. And I think that very idea is kind of summed up in the way Peter lives his life. Because Peter's the guy not only with the sword, but he's the one who takes the servant's ear. It just doesn't get revealed until John's like, well, I mean, most of the people who knew names and stuff like that are dead or in prison anyway. So yeah, it was technically Peter did it with his sword, but that's okay. I mean, John Mark was there kind of watching from the sideline, though Luke will mention that. And just actually digging into these words and seeing how actively and alive it is. That you can actually put it together from the different witnesses' accounts, letting the word speak for itself. And so the words from Jesus, pawn your cloak and get a sword. Pawn your cloak and get a sword. And here, the armor, it's not a cloak of divine passion. It's not a cloak of zeal. But do we see the sword here anyway? There's no sword. But there is with Paul. And it's the sword of the Spirit. No longer about blind zeal, but the word. Not waving it as a weapon to beat each other with, see Bible thumper idea. It used to be one calling out my past self, not anyone other than that. No. Anything you hear, wrestle with God. That's why it's called Israel, right? These words, they're meant to cut soul from sinews, or soul from spirit, sinew from bone. They're meant to cleave away in us, taking out that log, making it so that we no longer have a grimace on our face, so that we're no longer looking at a person and seeing that which we hate most in ourselves by looking at them with nothing but hate. So that we're to the point where we look at that person, that life and before us, and say, oh wait, no. Like James said, Jacob said, I don't want to insult the creation and then praise the creator. I want to praise the creator and praise the creation. Is the person before me the kind of person I wish they were? No. But I'm not God, and it's not about me. My choice is to decide, am I going to interact with and repay hostility with hostility, or hostility with kindness? Am I going to respond with cruelty with malice, evil with evil, or am I going to repay evil with good and say, this cycle ends with me? So I'm done watching it perpetuate. That's the kind of right relationship armor, right? And going back to the armor here, righteousness is his body armor. Breastplate of righteousness, breastplate of righteousness. It is that right relationship that exists. There can be no justice without right relationship. There can be no one helping. Like even there, right? Looked and was displeased to find there was no justice. There's justice to be found. Righteousness right there. And that his justice sustained him. So you have this invitation of seeing a right relationship. And when I look at these words, well, if his justice is sustaining him, verbally, word-wise, construction-wise, that looks of two present hymns. That looks like it is the justice of the Lord sustaining Jesus through his actions. And I recognize my bias, so I'm reading that into it. Just gonna own that out front for people who, well, I don't see it. I do, but also because I see every page of this text linking back to him, forward or back from Genesis all the way on, because I see his hand actively moving in our lives. So when I look at this, righteousness is a body armor, right? Relationship lived out, justice sustaining, knowing that he's doing the right thing, that what is supposed to be done is what is being done. Yeah, right there in Gethsemane, your kingdom come, your will be done. The strong arm, very image of being able to do it, the power to do it. I mean, we have that image everywhere. Rosie the Riveter, for goodness sake, came all the way through our history for a reason. And God's strong arm isn't there to crush in the present tense. It's to rescue. It's to seek after the oppressed and to help them. To seek those who need and long for justice and to give it to them. Those who hunger and thirst for righteousness will be sated. Those who mourn will be satisfied. The meek shall inherit the earth. Suddenly, you're going through the Beatitudes. And the entire connects right back to it. So when you see the divine passion that only the Lord can have, because he's the only one who truly has the perspective. We don't. And that's why I love that Jesus setting the example all the way through. Your kingdom come, your will be done. Your kingdom come, your will be done. Not as a mantra, as a blind repetition, but as a true prayer that resets the mind to understand it's not our focus. Ourselves cannot be the focus. Our way of doing it cannot be the focus. Our will cannot be the focus. It has to be him. So that goes right back to the tree. One where, eat anything you want. You're good. Enjoy it all. Just that tree. Don't eat from it. You can even lean against the tree. Just don't eat from it. It's one thing, I'm just telling you this. Because the moment you eat from it, you'll die. And they ate from it. And although they didn't, power off mode, die, they were cast out. And they were cut off. They've eaten from this fruit, and if they eat from the other one and they live forever, well, then they're forever in the state of being cast out. Forever in the state of brokenness. Forever suspended in time in that state. Why? Why not cast out to give an opportunity to be healed, to be remade, to be renewed, to be reformed? The old self died that the new one might be born. No longer we who live, it is Christ who lives in us. These are seemingly complex ideas, I recognize, and the more I think on them, the more simple and profound they become. Because the core of the idea is this: if we are to love others, it cannot be ourselves as the focus. Because other people get lost when our cup is full of ourselves. So it has to be about others. When I look at these words about him clothing himself in the way he did it, and then the way he will do it. Thou will repay his enemies for their evil deeds. His fury will fall on his foes. He will repay them back, even to the ends of the earth. I recognize that I probably on this channel sound a very hippie-esque. No, this right here, same text. Judgment will come. It's the understanding of who's making ourselves the enemy. How are we making ourselves the enemy? It's a very idea. It's at the core of it, what we talked a lot about. At the end of it, at the kingdom call, curtain end, the whole thing, wrap up, all the cosmos done away with, entropy is come and gone, and a lot of it's reset. You're going to get one of two answers. Okay, Lord, your will be done. Or the Lord saying to the person, okay, your will be done. But I'm not going to share my glory with anyone. I'm not going to be second tier to anyone or anything, and I will not have you destroy what is good and what I have made. So if you've decided you're outside the garden, very well, that is where you will be unmade. Text says burn. I recognize this. When I look at the rest of it, it seems more an unmaking. Perhaps that's why God has allowed the idea of the Thanos snap to basically permeate everywhere. To get to an understanding, God is not one to perpetuate suffering. So, make it so that one can simply understand. You cease to be. You are an unthing. That judgment that comes, that pays to the end of the earth. Why? Because the two wills have dramatically different outcomes. The will of the Lord leads to love. It leads to agape. It leads to self-sacrificial, other-centered love. That is the very nature of agape and why I bring it up so often. Because this is the core of it. This is the love God, love others. This is the, you want to get the short, sweet, to the point? Here it is. His love, his way of doing it, loves others as we are loved. Recognizes the grace we are shown, recognizes the mercy we are shown, and pours it out. Because we don't deserve it, we didn't earn it. So why should we be unforgetting debtors and not pay it forward? And the other tree? Oh, eventually reduces to me and mine for sake of what I want. First doing it for, oh, I'm doing it for this group of people. And then smaller, no, this group of people. And smaller still, this group of people. Smaller still, this, my family, my tribe, my family, me. It zeroes down until there's nothing left. Because the focus isn't on other people. The focus isn't on the choice of love. The focus isn't on what Jesus has done for us. The focus is on definition. And is that not what the second fruit tree was right there? The knowledge of good and evil, the understanding, the choice to define it. We had the choice to define it for ourselves from go. That's why they were both able to eat the fruit. Consequences came. No. Now you can decide for your own, at the sacrifice of anyone and anything, what is good in your eyes. Well, what is good in our eyes? Sorry, checking the time. Is it good to us to love others, or is it good in our eyes to condemn them? Is it good in our eyes to see, oh wow, I was that kind of sinner, and I'm going to love you through the sin. I'm not going to join you in it. I'm not going to participate in it. I'm not going to copy, mimic, or behave in it. I'm going to see the person I once was and say, damn, I'm glad the people that are around me didn't give up on me. Maybe God put me in their life, so I won't give up on them. And that's where wisdom and discretion is needed. Is all of this poignantly rests on the understanding of intimate relationship in prayer. So we don't have the understanding and wisdom to do ourselves. We have to seek him, and when we do, all this is added. It answers itself. Most of the questions do. That way we can run right to him. Setting and saying, okay, you want it this way, you're going to get it that way. And when God lays it out, whole world understanding, he's not to be trifled with. Because all too often we want the judgment, we completely misunderstanding what Peter said. God is not slow in acting like some perceive it. He's patient, giving everyone the opportunity, because he does not rejoice over the suffering of even one. So why should we? I implore you, spend time in the Word, dig in, spend time with him. It's not what anybody wants. Well, we're image bearers. So why would our Creator not want intimate time with us when he made us to be like that? May his favor be upon you. Know that you're loved. Sorry, neighbor's umbrella was starting to blow. May his favor be upon you. Know that you're loved. God willing, I'll see you then.